Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and that is the 2023 Mazda CX-50. It's not the first time we've tested it on the channel, but it's nice to come back and revisit something, see if it's really as good as I remember it the first time. Stay tuned. All right, gearheads, yes, I have already tested this a couple times here on the channel, but Mazda supplied this 2023 CX-50 for me while I was up in Chicago for the Chicago Auto Show, which is why you probably can see my breath. Yeah, it's freezing out here. This Texas boy ain't used to it, but I wanted to revisit this one and see if it's as good as I remember when I had it back on my home turf. Let's start up under the hood first and foremost, because this uses Mazda's Skyactiv G turbo engine. So I have really liked this engine. I liked it when we first tested it at Texas Motor Speedway. I liked it when we tested it on our home turf in Tyler, Texas. This is the 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It is an all-wheel drive vehicle. This engine makes 227 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, and is mated to a 6-speed automatic. So all of that translates to a really engaging driving experience. I really like that low end torque, that 310 pound-feet of torque. It is really zippy and peppy through traffic. That is not only true in Tyler, Texas, but after driving this through the windy city of Chicago, I can absolutely testify this is a good vehicle for just zipping in, getting in, and merging onto traffic, merging into whatever sort of situation you may need to get into. I really like this engine. It gets a big thumbs up for me, especially in this vehicle. It doesn't weigh a whole lot. So this CX-50 is built on a stretched version of the CX-30 platform, not anything to do with the CX-5. So while it may end up replacing the CX-5, at some point in the lineup, like the new upcoming CX-90 is replacing the CX-9. Right now, Mazda doesn't claim that to be the case, and I can kind of see a merit for both of them in the lineup. They are uniquely different. We will be testing a CX-5 here on the channel very soon, so be sure and subscribe for that. But this really shows off the new design language for the Mazda brand. I really like how low and wide it is. I was really hoping the CX-90 would look a little more like this and a little less like a glammed up version of the CX-9. This just looks a little bit sportier, a little bit more athletic, which is really more what this model is for, whereas that CX-90 is more of a luxury vehicle. We will be driving the CX-90, and hopefully it drives as good as this one, because I've really enjoyed my time in this one. You can see we have LED headlights, LED running lights, LED turn signals. Those turn signals just kind of pulse as they flash. That's a very unique look. They are shared parts with the MX all-electric vehicle that we tested, so that's an interesting one. And then I will give Mazda huge kudos for actually having these be open. You can actually see air, and that allows air to get around the front of the vehicle for better aerodynamic approach, and just helping this vehicle cut through the wind a whole lot better. I'm actually going to come around to the passenger side because I wanted that guaranteed rate field as my backdrop, but the sun is not cooperating this morning, and I've got to get to the airport to fly home here in just a little bit, so time is not on my side. But moving to the side of this one, you can see a very athletic side profile on this one as well. Like I said, it is a stretched version of the CX-30, and it's lower, wider, and kind of more mean looking than the CX-5. I actually prefer this over the CX-5, but like I said, we're about to get to test that one for a week, so maybe my opinions will change just a little bit. Really like those 20-inch wheels. Really like everything about the proportions on this one. Moving around to the back, you can see the taillights and the fake vents mimic the front. So where I gave Mazda kudos up front for those being real air curtains for the air to get around the front corner of the vehicle, back here, not so much the case. And then you can see the taillights mimic the headlights up front. You do get a power hatch back here in the back, and the cargo area is quite massive. So my wife and I have a 2014 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk. That thing is built more for off-roading. It feels like a much smaller trunk area than this. This just seems like a massive trunk area, and you can fold the 60/40 split bench seat from right here. So I like that a whole lot. And while we're talking about it, we do have top tethers all the way across all 3 spots in the back seat. I find it very interesting. I was supplied with an ice scraper. This is not something I'm used to seeing in my press vehicles, so just shows you I'm not in Texas anymore. If we look underneath here, we do have a temporary spare, and in the middle there, that is the subwoofer for the Bose sound system. Close the hatch right here, and let's get inside and warm up just a little, because whew, you can see I left it running. Those dual exhausts are giving off just a little bit of warmth, but let's get inside. All right, before we move inside, I do want to show you Mazda's key. It does have lock, unlock, and a remote release for the hatch. It will open the hatch, and a panic button. No remote start. I've been told the Mazda app has that, but I don't know why you don't put them on the key. It is passive entry. You can lock and unlock, or lock it from there, unlock it by putting your hand on the back and just pulling it open. But, whew, I left it running because cold. It is warmed up to 30 degrees, and it's just a little windy. I mean, we are in the Windy City after all. But when we got this one, I also talked about the interior signaling, the future design philosophy of the Mazda brand, and now that we've seen the CX-90, I can absolutely testify to that. So we've got stitching that goes all the way from the doors to the dash, all the way around the front. That stitching is echoed on the center of the seats here. So very comfortable, heated, ventilated front seats, and they do a really good job of holding you in place and keeping you warm in a Chicago winter. You get all your controls here, lock, unlock right there. You do get some controls over here. So your safety systems, your camera view button, which we'll get into the camera here in just a second, but you do have 360 cameras. I really like that. Your parking sensors, traction control, and that automatic start stop button right there. Down below, we do have our hatch release, 2-person memory seat, and a set button for that memory seat. And then when we look here at the steering wheel, it is a very nice steering wheel. It is leather wrapped. It is very nice. It's got a little bit of squish to it, but you can also tell it's very athletic. You've got all your controls for your radio, cruise control, and stuff like that. And that gives way to an analog tachometer, analog temperature gauge, and fuel gauge over here. And then the center screen area will do a good job of fooling you that it's not actually an analog speedometer, because you can cycle through a few different things on that information screen and completely customize it. One thing I really like about the way Mazda does their whole screen setup right here and the head-up display, but especially the speedometer here, is if you have cruise control set, it'll actually put a little tick mark on the speed that you have set, even if that's not the speed you're currently going, like if you're passing somebody or you got stuck, because this does have adaptive cruise control. So if you slow down, you still know where your speed was set, even if that's not what you're actually doing. Then coming over here to the cameras, we do have a wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto system up here, but talking about these cameras, it is a nice widescreen. So we get our bird's eye, we get our view out the front. If I were to put it in reverse, there's my view out the back, and that actually does drop my rearview mirrors down so I can see better. That is a feature you can program in the infotainment system, but very quick, very snappy. You operate it through this rotary dial. Very controversial rotary dial. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm a little indifferent to it now. I've gotten used to it. I just want to have the option to be able to touch it, because trying to navigate through Apple CarPlay with a rotary dial is not my favorite, but you get used to it very quickly. I do like that the volume knob is right here, very easy to reach, and all these shortcut buttons take you to the Apple CarPlay version of whatever it is. So if it's navigation, it takes me to my Apple CarPlay navigation, music, home, back. You get an electronic park button, parking brake, auto hold button there for traffic, and then your drive selector here. You can see I'm in sport now because, you know, Chicago traffic, but you can drop it to normal or off-road. Mazda is teasing the Meridian Edition, which will be a little more off-road focused, better wheels and tires, I think a little bit of a suspension lift, and maybe some underbody protection. So really looking forward to testing out that Meridian. Hopefully we can get one in the Tyler fleet, because that just sounds like a whole lot of fun for me. And I would really like to be able to test out the off-road mode a little bit more. We have tested one of these off-road, but it was kind of a little bit of light duty. The cup holders up front here, well, not my favorite placement. I would rather them be back here, but I get it with the controller and all that stuff. So they aren't in a terrible spot. As a native Texan, a Whataburger cup does fit up here very nicely and doesn't really get in the way of all your controls. Very simple to use, dual zone climate with heated and ventilated seats that I mentioned earlier. There's your engine start stop button. But overall, a very nice use of space here. You do have a split opening center console, 2 USB-A ports in here. Your Qi wireless charger is actually right here, but in all my time with this car, which has been a lot, not just this one, but this model, it has never worked with my plus-sized Apple phones. My wife's iPhone 13 fits in it just fine, charges just fine, so just something to know. It doesn't really seem to work with plus-sized phones. Coming around here, we do have a panoramic glass roof, which I really like. Still have quite a bit of headroom in this one, even though it's built on a smaller vehicle platform. And I bring that up because that is one thing I instantly notice every time I get in this for the very first time. The rearview mirrors here just seem so close to me. I feel so very close to the front of the windshield and dash. And that's perhaps my only real complaint about this, is when I first get in it, I feel very close to everything. That's not unique to this car. I felt that in some other vehicles, but it's just a little jarring the very first time. But when I got back in it to drive here today and getting ready to go to the airport, I was already used to it. So it's something you get used to very easily. I just wanted to bring that to your attention because, well, you're not sitting here like I am. All right, we are going to attempt to get out and get back in and go in the back seat and show you what the back seat is like. So I'm 5'10". I will show you what it's like sitting behind myself at 5'10". Plenty of room. So very comfortable back here. Still get some nice materials back here, though the stitching and padding from the front is gone. But you do get your window and a chrome door handle. Window power, yes, the window switch. There you go. Back here in the back, we do get 3-mode heated outboard seats, a couple climate vents on the back of the center console, and a couple USB-A ports on the back here. No map pocket back here. Do get a map pocket back here, and then we do get a fold-down center armrest that does stay parallel to the seat bottom. It doesn't flop all the way down, so I like that a whole lot. Y'all may ask why I keep bringing that up, that it doesn't flop all the way down. Toyota products I've tested do, so really like that this stays put and works very well as an armrest. I will note, as a dad, we do have hard plastic covers for the lower child seat tethers, so just something that you should know if you get this and are planning to put a child seat in it. But headroom back here, good as usual, and I'm very comfortable back seat. I already mentioned how this thing drives here in Chicagoland traffic. I've not been disappointed with this at all. I am reminded exactly why I love this vehicle so much, why I'm so excited for the Mazda brand, why I'm so excited to get a chance to drive that CX-90 a little bit later. So if you want to see that, be sure and hit that subscribe button down below, ring the bell so you're notified every time new content drops from us. If you want to see some behind the scenes stuff before it is up here, or just be notified in some additional ways when we drop new content, find us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Everything is at GT Garage Talk, or you can just head on over to gtgaragetalk.com. I've got to get this back to the airport. I've got to get back to Tyler, Texas, but I have really, really, really enjoyed this Mazda CX-50. It wasn't a honeymoon period when we had it for our 1-week test. Getting back into it, I really do like this. I could see us purchasing this. It's a good size for our family of 3. But that's it for me from Chicago. Finally, my last video from my time here in Chicago. Until next time, gearheads. Bye.